Now that we've figured out how to create a table, let's discuss actually formatting that table to make it look nice. There are a lot of different options, so we're going to be going over how to just basically do some of the basics options to make your table look nice and display the information properly. So let's go ahead and import our table information again. I'm going to do another method that you can do is you can actually just open up your Excel document, highlight the information that you want added, and then click on it like you're going to be dragging it somewhere else in Excel, but just drag it straight over to the sheet, and you'll see that it comes in just like so. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this out, bring this down, and that looks good. So we're going to click on this, click Control A, go up to Table, Convert Text to Table, and these two options are fine. So we're going to click OK, and you'll notice that the table is a little bit small. There's some stuff being like pushed onto a second line. So let's go ahead and expand this outward, and we'll expand this one outward as well. And you'll notice that the table didn't move because we're just expanding its box. So when we move this, we can move just one, but you'll see that it's only going to move this table, this column right here. So if we click and hold Shift, we can actually move the entire table, every single one by those many pixels. And so now you'll see that we have a nice distribution here, and our table is looking pretty good display-wise. So the first thing we need to do is there's an empty row down here. So let's go ahead and delete that row. If you want to modify, delete, or add rows, go up to Table, and right here you have Insert, so you can insert a row or column right where your cursor is, or Delete. So we need to click inside of the row that we want to delete, then go up to Table, Delete, Delete Row. Just like that, and it'll delete that bottom row for us. So now we got it looking good and formatted correctly. Let's go ahead and go back into type and hide those characters now, because now we don't really need them. And so let's get into the actual formatting. So what we need to do first is we should make this top row a header row. We don't need to make it one, but it'll allow us to sort of control its styling separately than the rest of the table's styling. So we're going to click on the table. We're going to go up to here, and we're going to go into Table, and then down, or Table Options, and then Table Setup. And from here, you'll have a bunch of different table options that open up. We need to go over into headers and footers, and we need to say that there should be a header row just like here. And every text column, so it's going to be how many times you want to repeat the header. This by default is fine, so we're just going to click OK. And you'll notice that it creates a row up here, and this is our new header row. So we just need to move this information upwards. So don't select the entire table, just the text within the cell. And we're just going to copy and paste that upward, just like this. And then now all of our text is into the top row. So let's go ahead and delete this secondary row. And all we need to do now is go to Delete, and then row like we did before. And now the top row is a header row. So let's give it sort of a different feel than the rest of the table. And to do this, what we need to do is we need to step back into the style world. What I mean by that is we're going to be using table styles to do all of the styling, especially with the header row up here. So to do that, all you need to do is go up to the window, and then go into Styles. Whoops, I misclicked right there. Go up to Window, go into Styles, and then go to Table Styles, right like so. And you'll notice that it opens up the Table Styles, Cell Styles, and then this is Paragraph Styles. I just only remember that because I actually dragged that in here earlier. So this is what it'll probably open up as default. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drag in Paragraph Styles, and I'll explain that in a second. So what we have here is we have 3 separate styles. So the table styles are going to style the entirety of the table at the exact same time. The cell styles are going to be like individual properties of each cell, and then the paragraph styles are going to be the text within the cells. If we go up here to table styles, we can create ourselves a new one just like in here and just like in here. But let's first cover the table by itself. So over here we have a table tab, and this is just going to control certain elements like, for example, how many rows and columns are. So if we double click on our table, you'll see that it has 5 columns or 5 rows and 3 columns. You'll notice that there are actually 6 rows here, and that is because the header row up here is a row in itself, which means that it doesn't actually count in the data. So you'll notice that it only has 5 down here, but it notes that there's 5, and it only notes the data cells beneath the top one here. Down here we have certain, they're called cell offsets, but basically they're padding. So it's going to give you padding on the left, the right, the top, the bottom to sort of, center your text better. Like let's say if we wanted to increase it on this one, you'll see that it increases the padding on all the sides, and it can, it's just a style. It can make it look nice if you do it in certain situations. We can also justify where we want the text to go. So for example, if I click on this, let's make this row really, really big. And you'll notice that we can make it go to the center or to the bottom in vertical space, or we can justify it. So if it's multiple lines, you'll see that it goes and it justifies the text. So 2 lines, it's going to go 1 top, 1 bottom. It's going to make it equal. If we click enter, it's going to go by thirds, by fourths, by fifths, by sixths, and then at some point it's going to run out of space, so it's going to start pushing the bottom down here. And you'll notice that we don't have certain aspects, like for example, what happens if we wanted to center this text? And that's because the text is actually going to be centered using the old text rules. So if we want to center it, we actually have to click on the text property up here. So if we wanted to center a bunch of different ones, we actually need to create ourselves a paragraph style. So this all kind of gets just a little bit confusing because there's so many different aspects going into this table. It's sort of like the culmination of everything that we've learned being put into just this little piece. So let me just break it down a little bit. What we have here is we have the text inside. The text inside is going to be reacting off of the styles that the paragraph and the characters give it. Then inside of that, if we highlight this right here, you'll see that we have cells. And the cells are going to be going off of the cell styles. And then the entire table as a whole, so this whole thing, that is going to be going off of a table style. So let's sort of create our own style and we can learn as we go. Let me go ahead and go into the table styles. I'm going to click on the Create New button right here. And we're going to have ourselves a table style, and let's name it like Menu, something like that. What I want to do is I want to double click on this to open up the table styles. Don't click on the text because that'll just go to the rename. So go a little bit farther over, double click there. It'll bring this up right like so. And you'll notice in the general setup, we have an interesting feature down here in cell styles. So we have the ability to give a certain cell style to certain aspects of the table. So you'll see right here, we have header rows. We can actually give a style to our header rows, which means that all of our header rows will be independently styled from the rest of the data. That sounds like a good idea. So let's go ahead and do that. But you'll notice that we don't really have any cells in here. We have this one that I created like a really long time ago, but it starts off with nothing in here. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a new cell style. And we can either go into here and create it from there, or you'll see that there's a nice little feature down here that says new cell style. So let's click on that and it's gonna give us a cell style. So let's give it a style of menu header style. Sure, that works. And now let's go and let's change some things up. So usually I like to have a different color at the top. So let's give it a neat color. Let's go into strokes and fills right here. And you'll notice that we have the cell stroke, and that's going to be like the line around the cell. But what I want is the cell fill down here. So I'm going to go in here, and we have some colors in here. So I'm going to go with this one down here, this pink. Go with really any color that pops up here. We haven't talked about color swatches yet, so there might be some or might not be some in here. If there aren't, then later on we'll talk about how to add those in here, but there should be a default set of these colors right here. I'm going to click this pink. I'm going to click OK, and you'll notice that now every header row has this exact pink background to it. And so if we wanted to edit that style, we can click out of here and go into our cell styles, and you'll notice that we have this new menu header style. So let's go ahead and double click on that. And we can, add additional things in here, like we could make sure that all the vertical justifications are actually centered. So if the row becomes larger, all of our text will stay in the center. And let's actually give it sort of a different feel as well. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of a padding on the left side. Let's make it like slightly, actually let's go on the top and bottom. Let's give it slight padding on the top and bottom. So let's link these out and bring these back down to 0 over here. We don't want them all moving at the same time, so I unlink them so that we can move these both individually. So let's move these both up to maybe like 10. If we hit preview, we can kind of see what we're doing here. And yeah, I like that maybe a little bit lower. Maybe like 7 here, 7 there. Yeah, it just looks a little bit different. But now let's say that we wanted all of these to also be centered. So what we need to do is we need to go into the paragraph style, and we can just create something really basic. We could just click on all of these and go center like so, which is probably the easier thing because we don't want to actually be doing a lot here. But if we also wanted to add, for example, like make it bold text or something, let's go ahead and just create a style so you can kind of see how all of these work together. So let's create ourselves a new style. This one's going to be called the header text. And we're just going to do some really basic stuff in here. There's a lot of options like we went over before. Let's go into basic character format, and let's make this bold condensed. And let's go into indents and spacing, and let's make alignment to center. So all we did was we changed that it's going to be bold, by going into the bold condensed of Minion Pro. If it doesn't have a bold one, you can just go to Minion Pro because that's going to have a bunch of different variations, or find a text that does have these styles under it. And then now the next one was just we went into here and we changed alignment to center. Click OK, and you'll notice that this changes like so. And so let's just click on all of these now and change them. And now they're all with header text, which means if we wanted to make some weird manipulation, like we go in here, we can go into, I don't know, let's say we just wanted to change the font really quickly, like into this one. Click OK, and they'll all change at the same time. It gives us a little bit more control and allows us to now continue to format our table in a new, interesting way. So remember, the paragraph styles are formatting the text inside, our cell styles are giving us this background, and then our table styles are calling on the cell styles to be applied to a specific area. Now let's jump back into the table styles right here, and we can kind of look at just some of the other options here. So if we go into the table setup here, you'll see that we have a table border and table spacing. So these are like the big things. The entire table, how you want it bordered, how you want it spaced. So let's actually give it like sort of a deeper, 4 is a little bit big, maybe like 2 looks kind of good. And let's give it like a thick, thin sort of look to it. We can give a row, every one of the rows we can make have a certain color. Same with the columns, but the thing that I really want to look at is the alternating patterns. So what's neat about this is that we can actually create alternating patterns of background color on our rows. And that'll help us sort of, whenever you're looking at a page that's like 400 rows long, it gets kind of tedious because all of the rows blend together in your mind, and if you're trying to trace the left to the right on a row, like down this, if it's, got 25 columns, you'll get lost as you go because they're all the same color. So what we can do is we can alternate the colors. So let me just show you what that means, and that might make a little more sense. Let's go to every other row, and you'll notice that it automatically sets up with this. The first row is going to have black, and it's going to tint it at 20%, which means it's going to take whatever's behind it and it's going to turn that black about 20%. And then the next row is going to have nothing, and it's going to go back and forth like that. And we can lower this down, so we can lower the opacity if we don't want it that intense, maybe like to 9%, or we could go, really, really high if we wanted to, and just keep darkening it right here. You can choose any color you want. So let's say we wanted to kind of go with that pink color. Let's choose maybe the darker magenta like this, and we could back it off just a touch to like maybe 20% like so. And now it's all sort of the same fun. It actually looks like it might be like a ice cream shop sort of look, but you'll notice that it makes it really easy to see these sort of effects here. And we can also do something else. So this is the alternating row. We can change the pattern, and now we have this sort of like candy cane appearance. If we wanted to choose a secondary color, we can go up here and we can make it yellow or whatever color we want. Bring the tint down, of course, because usually pure colors are going to look a little distracting. But I actually like the white with this, so we're just going to bring this back up to none. And you can also where it's going to start. So you see it's going to start at row 1, which does not overwrite our header files because those are separate entities. Okay, so now that we have this going, let's go back up into general. Let's go actually to, general. And you see that in the bottom left, what we have is this is supposed to be like a menu. So the left should have something that is sort of maybe differential. Maybe it sort of stands out some. So we could change the left column right here as well. We could apply a cell style to it, and you'll see that it overwrites the cell style whenever we apply whatever. So if we apply the menu header up here, it's going to do that. But we're actually going to go none, because what we want to actually do is create a paragraph style that's on the left here. So I'm going to go ahead and create another paragraph style. I'm going to click on this, and this one's going to be named left column. And let's double click on this and open it up. And we're just going to be making a very small adjustment here. We're going to be going into the basics. We're going to be dropping this to, let's go back to Minion Pro, and we're going to make it bold condensed. And that's all we're going to do with this cell. It's just the left column is going to be bold, sort of set it off from the rest. So now let's go ahead and apply this. So we could go down the list and click on each one of these and then click the left column button like so, but that's a little bit tedious. So what you can do instead is you can actually just drag, and it's just sort of like Excel where you can drag and you can highlight any of these cells down here that you want. So what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight everything in the left column. Then we're going to click on the paragraph styles, go to that new left column style that we created, and click on it, and it'll adjust all of them to that new style. So that is really it on the design that I wanted to create for this. You'll notice that, like I said, it's not complicated, but it is a little bit complex. You have a bunch of different styles being applied at the exact same time. And if you ever worked on like the web or web development, you'll understand that styles sort of compound on top of each other. You get styles on top of styles on top of styles. And it's because we're trying to format a bunch of different areas as a bunch of different objects. We could do it all manually, but now since we've created all of these styles, we have control over the header row, the header background, the alternating colors between here, what the text is going to look like in the left side. We have a whole bunch of control, and in just a few button clicks, we could change this from this candy cane design to sort of a black and red design, or to, maybe a blue and orange design, or really anything that we want because we've created these styles. So this is how you go about formatting a table. Like I said, a little bit complex. It was a little bit of a long video here, but now that you know how to do this, you should have a lot of control over tables, and you should be able to create a table on your own that fits and sort of accents your document.